Hello, my name is Faith Gernhardt. I'm a fiber arts enthusiast. As I mentioned earlier, there are two standard ways of warping a loom. One is called front to back, the other is called back to front. Each has their advantages. With front to back, the reed is the first thing that the threads go through, or the yarns go through. With back to front, the reed is the last thing that the yarns go through. If you're working with a yarn that frays easily, you don't want to use front to back because it's going to go through the reed and the heddles each twice. That increases the wear and tear on the threads. I like front to back because it allows me to keep my threads straight. I really have a problem keeping them straight on the back beam, loading back to front. Now, since the project that I'm using has two colors in it, and lucky for me it's every other color, so when I was warping, all I had to do was warp the two threads together, as you saw. Because I do choose to dress my loom front to back, that meant that I had to have, going through the reeds, every other color. That meant that I had to tie them on, and I could not keep the two colors going over and over and over again, which I could do if I were threading back to front, because then I could just loop my back carrier through and bring it forward. When I have to be really careful about when the threads are coming through is when I'm pulling them back through the heddles and then through the reeds, because it's weaving from the right to the left. It's white, dark, white, dark, white, dark, white, dark. So here, as I'm getting ready to put it through the reed, I don't have to worry about that as much because I've got my white and dark tied together. And because I was going to be doing this, you notice I tied them up here to keep them very, very neat. So now, with this project, I'm not doing one wide scarf. I'm doing two small 6 to 8 inch scarves. I'm going to sley my reed as if I were weaving from the right to the left. But remember, this is the front. That means I'm actually going to sley my reed on a left to right basis, because when I go to weave, I will be over here. Sort of a disadvantage of going front to back, but the nice thing is I can be outside where it's nice when I'm ready to work with my reed. I'm going to start away from the center, and I already have my pairs. I'm going to be weaving at 20 ends per inch, EPI. I'm using a 10 dent or 10 slots per inch reed. That means I can put my white and gray, white, gray, white, gray in each dent. So that's not going to be a problem for me in keeping my colors straight. Working with more colors, I have to be very careful to keep my colors in the sequence in which they're going to be woven. Now this is why I use that long cross. I have this one large one that I'm going to put out, and I'm going to open it up. It is around my cross, as you can see. And I'm going to open it up to allow me to move my threads, making sure I've got a square knot here, so that I can move my threads and get them going. And now I'm going to take my first set of 20. Actually, it's my last set of 20, but it's the first set that I'm going to work with. When you're slaying your reed, technically you're supposed to use a slaying hook, which is a large, almost S-shaped hook, but I'm a lazy soul, so I use just the reed hook, and we bring the first pair of threads over. It's going to work better with that going that way. Okay. No, it's going to work better if I lay my over here. That way I'm pulling off the top of the, and I start near the edge. I've got plenty of room on this reed. And you see the cross here, so it makes it, you can see the cross, makes it quite easy for me to pick up the thread, pull it around, I get up to where I tied, and then I pull those two threads over. Goes in the next slot of the reed. I don't have to worry about what's first and second at this point. When I take it inside and put it in on my loom, then I'm going to have to make sure that I do it in the correct sequence, starting on the what will be the right hand side with a white and a dark, which is the way it is in my layout. Mistakes you make while putting it in the reed. Sometimes you'll end up skipping a slot. Sometimes you might put two sets of threads or two more threads in a slot than you want. It doesn't matter, I don't think it matters whether you're going back to front or front to back when you are going into your reed and you find a mistake. Either way, it's the first thing that the threads are going through, and it's easy to correct it. The advantage you have in front to back is if you've done something like especially with colors, you've accidentally put a set of one color in place that doesn't belong. Did I ever do that? Yes. When I'm threading front to back, when I get in there and I'm double checking everything, my chain is still there. And I find out that, oh my gosh, I put 8 here and I was only supposed to put 4. So it's really easy to take those 4 out, put them on a little bobbin spindle, and wind them onto the spindle as I'm winding onto the warp. If I've warped back to front, at that point they are on the beam. So I still have to do the same thing. I have to take them out, I have to correct my threadings, but now I have to keep track of them as they're coming up on the weaving and wind them on from the back. For me personally, I think that's a little easier. You might disagree, and you may find that it's easier for you to correct threading errors after everything is on the loom. If you've got a case where you don't have the threads you should have in front to back, you can go back to your warping mill or board. You can warp off make a tiny warp of the threads that you need to add in, and then you've got a slight extra warp chain on your front. So now I'm going to do this all the way across, and every so often I'm going to tie these with a little bow knot to keep things from getting messed up. Now I'll untie the next group. The reason I tied these up here is because of the fact that I do have the knot, and I want to keep things so it's easy for me to tell where I'm going. The gray thread is on the top, so I put it out so I can pick it up first, and then come back with my pair. Having a good cross makes this part of your threading relatively simple. There, I've done 20. So I think this is where I'm going to tie those together, just to keep them neat, also to keep me from accidentally pulling them back through the reed. If I were threading back to front, that would not be something I would be very likely to do at all. Yeah, go ahead. I can lazy. And untie. Both those molds. Back down. See my eyes? That's up to you. For one square. Now I could just, this is it, I'm through with this warp. I could leave it like this, but what I want to do is make it so that it's easy for me to get my lee sticks through. So I am going to this side of my chain is already tied on both sides. So that's going to be easy. But the side that I've been working on has gotten a bit gummy. So I'm going to tie my cross. And I'm going to tie a square knot because I don't even want to pull it accidentally. Just in case. Square knots have a weakness. So I tie a square knot, and you notice that this cord comes down and back up. So if I've tied a square knot and I've tied it nice and tight, and now it's not, these guys aren't going to pull out, and this guy won't pull out, but I want to get rid of it. I want to untie it. Well, I can sit here and I can pick it, but the other thing I can do is take these two that are going the same direction, jerk them nice and tight, and what happens is it turns into a lark's head knot that you can easily untie and just slip it through. That's why I have no trouble making a square knot here. Now, I'm going to use that nice tight square knot to help me separate my top from my bottom threads. And since I'm working with two colors, it makes it rather easy to see that I've got all of the top threads on the top and all of the bottom threads on the bottom. If I were working with a single color, it would be a little harder for me to make sure I had the top and bottom separated. And now I'm going to tie that so that it makes it easy for me to put my leaf sticks on either side of the cross. And again, I'm not going to tie it with a slip knot. I'm going to go ahead and tie a true square knot that I can jerk open. There we go. Now, one warp is finished. I'm going to take my other warp and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to leave myself a space because when I'm weaving these two scarves, I'm going to literally be working with two sets of two bobbins. Or, yeah, I'll call them bobbins for right now. Going to be short weaving sticks. So I'll be working with two sets of them. So I want space in between so I can lay them down and manage. So let's see, I'm halfway, no, right there. I'm going to start about here with my second set. Tie down to my cross, and I've got my extra long piece that I put in there for using now, and I'm going to go ahead and tie a square knot because I can jerk it open when I'm finished. And there it goes, see? So right over left, left over right, and pull it taut. That way I will not lose my cross. And there's my cross. I'll untie my first set. And I'm going to untie two of these at the top because I found when working with the first warp that I didn't have any real issues with those knots tangling too much when I went ahead and brought both of them over at once. Put that guy over out of the way. Spread them. We're going to end up here, of course. very precise measurements, you notice. If your warp is going to take up a lot of your reed, you might want to be very careful and do a measurement. When I'm working with multiple colors, I actually put a marker in the middle of my reed so I know where I'm working from the middle out. You're wondering why there's no mark at the middle of this reed. Because since I started doing front to back and threading from the middle out, usually when it's a full thing, this is the first time I've used this reed. If I happen to pick up the wrong thread here, it's going to be crossed with the others. When I pull it over here, it won't come over by itself. It'll bring another set with it. So that's how I know that I'm absolutely got the correct set of threads in the right order. For example, if I pull this guy, he's not the first one, right? When I go to pull him over, see how he's pulling other threads with him? So I pull that pair out. They come over, they don't bring anything else with them. So I've got the right ones. Okay. Now see that side's already there. I'm going to jerk. And there's my lark's head knot, so I can easily pull this guy through. And I'll tie it in a good tight square knot. Again, using the whole knot so that I don't have that little slip knot at the end. That would be easy to get undone on me. Separate my top and bottom. Okay, that guy's right. The fact that I'm using the same color makes it really easy for me to tell that I have divided my yarn properly. And that guy belongs over there, so I'm making sure. If I had the same color, using a single color, and I would just have to be a little more careful, making sure that I get my area at my cross. There. And this will make it very easy for me to just put my lead sticks through. My next step, go inside. I will put the reed into the loom. set up my lee sticks. And get ready to thread my heddles. Again, if you were doing back to front, you'd be doing everything in the reverse order. You'd make your warp, that always comes first. Then you would wind on. Then you would put it through the heddles. Then it would go through the weed. But I'm doing front to back, which means I go through the reed first, then through my heddles, and then I wind on to the back beam. My floor loom being a bit bigger than my table loom, and therefore the reed being too cumbersome to really use separately. So what I've done is I've set my reed up and put in one lee stick. By placing a lee stick through the loop that's just before the cross, I'm holding my warp in place so it won't fall. And now I'm threading my reed from the back. What I'm going to do when I finish getting everything on is quite literally take the reed off and turn it upside down. That will then place my warp on the outside, which is where I want it. The reed I'm using now is a 15 dent reed. I don't have a 10 dent reed for my floor loom. So that means in order to get 20 inch per inch EPI, I need to do a threading that goes 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. And I'm looking at my last threads through here. I'm readying my next two. And I came over without my hook. And I did a 2, 1, 1, so now I'm putting both through the next dent in the reed. And this is white, gray, white, gray, white, gray. So that means that since I'm putting individual threads through here with these two, white will be the first, gray will be the next. So I'm ending up with a 2, 1, 1, which is what I would expect with 20 threads in my grouping. White goes first with individuals, then gray, and now I will double check my work. So 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20. Good. And then we're going to do just the version to watch place. And that's the next group of ready. That should be on, yes. Okay. It's perfect. So this is my last two sets of threads. and knead it up. And I do come out with 211, which implies I haven't made a mistake. This whole scarf, I haven't made a mistake. Now that one, 3 times I had mistakes. Alright, count. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20. Right. But one of them is a little off. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my stick off. This is why I did not untie my cross, because this was just a temporary thing. Take that out of the way. When I did the table loom, I threaded it in the reverse order because I was going to do a 180 like this. I'm not going to do a 180 on this one. I'm going to literally turn it upside down. So take it out. Thank you. Now these guys are going to go to the back, because that's what's going to go through the reed, through the petals, and I bring my, I just dropped my bolt. Put it back in place, making sure I don't catch any threads. Right. Dropsies. I am such a good person at dropping things. There we go. Now I will pick up the bolt and nuts and washers that I dropped, and the next step will be to go to the back of the loom using my printout and put the threads through the petals. Thank you for watching, and have a blessed day.